Hey everybody, it's Matt Dabbs at Wineskins. I want to talk about a critical ministry shift that is just coming to my awareness in the last 6 months, and it's something that I believe very, very strongly in. And I want to walk through a couple of things of kind of how this came to my attention and what it is that you can do in your ministry context, or just not even as a professional minister, but in your life, how this skill will make all the difference. So I was at the National Discipleship Forum and I heard Jim Putman talking about coaching. I heard him talking in his class about how he was a wrestling coach who went into ministry, or was a minister and a wrestling coach. I don't know exactly the timeline on that, but he was extremely passionate about coaching and extremely passionate about ministry, and brought these two things together. I was listening to what he said and it clicked. It's like ministry aha dawned on me, and I really want to pass this on to you because I think it's just critical, and it's vitally important for our movement looking forward. And here it is. We are often taught ministry in terms of a congregational context that is about leadership, conflict management, resolution, communication, preaching, teaching, managing people, etc. But, I really wasn't taught how to really coach skills. I was taught how to communicate information, or at least that's what I took away from it. Maybe that was trying to be put into me more than I was able to receive at the time. But at this point in time, what I've finally come to understand is that this idea of mass communication to a large group of people, the idea of spiritual formation being about the transfer of information or the understanding of information, is just woefully inadequate. It's created anemic churches where the priesthood of all believers is not something that is embraced widely. It's embraced in theory but not in practice, and so our people just don't have the skills to do the things that we need them to do for our churches to thrive and grow. So I was really struck by that, by Jim Putman, and I thought a lot about it, and I thought about how do I help people grow? And typically I'm in a class of a lot of people. I'm preaching a sermon to a room full of a lot of people. Very little time just like in my ministry, which is my own fault, with people one-on-one coaching skills. It's all about the transfer of information communication, information reception, good communication, clear communication, making a single point, things like that. And that's not ever going to get people the skills they need to be engaged in ministry on the level that they need to be engaged in. And so I was really struck by his intensity, his passion, and his ability and willingness to take those skills that he had that I just didn't have. It's not something I've been trained in. It's not something I even knew that I even desired. And so I began thinking about the inadequacy of trying to communicate more than just truth, but also trying to coach skills to people who need to be involved in ministry, and the ripple effect that can have in our churches if more and more people are skilled and are being trained to do ministry. So you think about it like this, going on a hospital visit, not just going by yourself, but taking someone else with you, explaining what it is they're going to see before they get there, talking about the kind of things that you can talk about, or if things get slow or awkward, like the kind of things that you can engage in, or the kind of questions you can ask, the kind of things that you need to avoid, training them about pastoral ministry. You think about even debriefing, like you get back in the car and you're driving to lunch and you're just talking about what you saw. You're talking about how the husband, the wife who was sick's husband was in the chair and he started seeming real shifty, or he started getting real short, or they started both getting really quiet. It's time to go. Hospital visits tend to be better shorter than longer. So you debrief on these things and you explain what it is that you experienced. And then as time goes on, you bring this person time and time again, you begin handing off responsibility, handing off, delegating parts of that conversation to the other person, and allow them to try some things out while you're watching so that you can debrief them and engage in some equipping conversations on the way home. These are the kind of things we're talking about, not going about things alone, not spending all of our time behind desks. So what I determined, and this is the project that I'm in the middle of, and I want to encourage you to consider the resources that we have around us who can help us learn these coaching skills, because chances are you know people who know exactly how to do this. And I began considering all the people who I knew in my local congregational context who were coaches, soccer coaches, involved in basketball coaching, even people who I knew personally who were involved in coaching at Auburn University. And so I began just offering the idea, maybe we have not because we ask not, right? Like all these resources exist, but we just didn't know to ask. And so I began asking, can we sit down and talk about how you coach people and how you walk them from point A to point B? And so I don't want to get too in depth on this, but we'll talk about this in a future video. But I sat down with a friend of mine who is a coach, and he began walking me through how they go from the players' skills from not knowing the plays, not knowing what they're going to be doing, to being on the field on game day. And my analogy would be like if a coach's approach to coaching skills with players was to get everyone in the locker room and to pump them up and to, yeah, we're going to have a great game today and we're going to run our plays and you guys are going to run all over the field and defense is going to stop the ball and the offense is going to score and we're just pumping people up and we're just like giving information with like 100 people in the room and we're expecting them just to go out and do it. Well, they don't have the skills unless way before that, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps before that, we have taken them and very slowly walk them through skill sets to develop abilities within them so that when they end up on the field, they know exactly what it is that they're supposed to do. And so my friend said, I tell my players several things, and one of them is that when you go out on the field, stupid penalties, hitting somebody, things like that, not hustling, like that's on you, but if you don't know the plays, that's on me. Oh, when he said that, it so hit home with me with ministry. I thought, all those bad communion talks, like communion talk gone wrong. I thought, how many times have I sat there and listened to that and thought, I should really sit down with our people and talk about what it is that we expect. Write down some guidelines, walk people through it, take them in the room, walk them up, walk them down, be ready to go, be on the front pew, be ready to go up when the thing before is done and the slide comes up and it's your turn, be up there, be ready to go and make your point. And when it's time to sit down and just coach skills. Instead, we just say like, well, whoever's willing can just get up and do it and whatever happens, and we lack focus, we lack direction, we lack effectivity because we're not coaching skills with people in real time. And so what I began to be walking through this progression from slow and simple to on the initial practice to fast and more complicated. We'll talk some more about that in a future video, but that made so much sense to me was that we're not employing the kind of coaching of skills that people need to engage in effective ministry. Instead, it's lecture. Instead, it's the passing on of information. And that sort of thing. And we're not with people one-on-one, one-on-two, one-on-three, teaching skills, trying things out, debriefing, coming back around and doing this again. That takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of intentionality, a lot of effort. Maybe we do that like with internship. Maybe we do that with more senior ministers working with other ministers and things like we're working on those kind of skills. But I've just never done that well, which is my own responsibility with the person in the pew, like the average member who needs to know these skills. And if we can get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people, 100 people, 300 people who know these kind of skills, the difference that's going to make is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be amazing. And so start thinking about the people in your life who know how to coach, skills, who know how to pass on not just information, but true skills, micro skills, macro skills on what to do. And we'll be talking in the future about a progression of starting slow and simple to fast and complicated, what that looks like on the field and what that looks like in ministry. And so that's going to be coming up, and I hope that you'll engage in that. But this is part of our vision for Wineskins, is not just to be a place where we talk, but to be a place where we get on the field and we execute, a place where we train each other in skills. And I see it as a sort of theological therapy. And I don't mean that in a sense of psychotherapy of talking through problems. That is necessary. But I also mean for it in terms of like when we think about physical therapy, gross motor skills, we think about occupational therapy, fine motor skills. We need theological therapy where we're actually working with people. We're stretching theological joints and muscles. We're strengthening our eyesight. We're improving, increasing our ability to hear, so that the body is strengthened, and strengthened not just to be strong, but strengthened to get on the field and execute, to fully embody the priesthood of all believers and to teach these kind of skills. You may not have anyone in your current context who has the ability to pass on certain skills. And so Wineskins YouTube, wineskins.org, Wineskins podcast is going to more and more be a place where we can be teaching people, teaching you skills in your context. And again, please don't hear me say this is for people who are paid by a church just. Yes, this is for elders, this is for deacons, this is for lay leaders, this is for you if you want to study the Bible with a friend, if you want to disciple people. Oh, heavens, no, please don't let it just be professional ministries. Ministers are the only ones executing on these things. That would be such a shame, and our effectiveness is so watered down if that's all we expect. But my concern is that what we're doing is we are pumping people up in the locker room. Yeah, go get him, go get it done. You're going to get on the field, you're going to do this. First, nobody gets out on the field, but those who do don't know what they're doing. And then people fail, and they feel miserable, and they feel discouraged. But you know what? Like my friend, they're hustling. They're trying not to get the stupid penalty. But the fact that they don't know the skills, that's on us. That's on me for not having trained that, for not having coached that, for not having realized that. And so I can stand in a pulpit, I can stand in a classroom, and I can encourage, and I can cheer on, and I can instruct in certain ways, but that's never going to pass on the needed skills of ministry. Jesus' ministry did not look like that. That is not the example that we were handed. Jesus, yes, he instructed, but he also showed them. Teach us how to pray. You pray like this, but they also saw him pray. Jesus modeled and coached skills. This kind only comes out through prayer and fasting, and then he casts out the demon. And so these are the kind of things we're going to be talking about, we're going to be engaging in for the betterment of the kingdom, because just talking is not going to get it done. Just theorizing about things, not going to get it done. Exegeting, not going to get it done. But teaching you how to interpret the text, showing you examples and walking you through that to make you a better, not just understander of the Bible, but practitioner of the Bible, practitioner of ministry, is going to make all the difference. And so that's where we're headed. The field is ripe into the harvest, but the workers are few. Let's make the workers many as the harvest is many. Let's match that up, because this technology that we have, that I can literally sit in front of a camera and teach skills to people who are 1,000 miles away, who have the openness and the desire, who are searching YouTube for keywords to find, like, how do I minister to people? Let's teach that. Let's instruct on that, and then let's go and do it, okay? And then debrief on that. And as we teach on this, maybe you have no one to debrief you on this as you try these things, no one to walk with you through it. Let's talk in the comments about how to walk through these things. Talk about your experiences. Talk about the things that did work, the things that didn't work, and let's debrief on some of those things together. We can do that right here without even being face-to-face. It's awesome. So thank you for watching this. Please subscribe. God bless, and we'll catch you next time.